Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to help you set up a audit table using DynamoDB. In part 1 I talked about what an audit table is and why it's useful, but just as a brief summary, an audit table helps you keep track of all change events that occur against an object so that you can query on it later to figure out what the history of that object was. And this is the architecture that we're going to use to make that happen. So there's a bunch of different things that we need to create as part of this little mini project. First, we need to create our orders table, which is going to keep track of whatever the most recent attributes or properties of our orders are. From there, we're going to have a Lambda function. I'm going to call it the stream processor, and it's going to connect to DynamoDB using DynamoDB streams. And DynamoDB streams allow you to get notified whenever records are updated in your orders table. So for instance, whenever a record is inserted or updated, it's going to invoke our Lambda function. And by the way, this is going to occur in batches of change events. So maybe we'll only take batches of 25 change events and pass them into our Lambda function. Our Lambda function is going to kind of inspect that data. From there, we're going to call on the put record API in Kinesis Firehose in order to put that to a data stream. And the reason that we're using Kinesis Firehose is that it does a very nice job to batch our data. You can batch it by time or data size. So what I typically do is use something like 1 minute time that has elapsed or 5 megabytes worth of data, whichever comes first. And then from there, Kinesis Firehose is going to automatically batch put that into Amazon S3, and that's going to be in our orders audit raw data bucket. And the reason that this is useful as well, like you could do directly Lambda to S3, but the reason I like to use Firehose is that it supports very high throughput, and it also automatically segments your data by year, month, day, and hour, and organizes it very neatly for you in Amazon S3 in your bucket so that it's very easy to come to later and filter based on time range. And then from there, we're going to go and create a Amazon Athena audit table and connect that to our data source, which is going to be S3 in this case. And then we're going to do some SQL queries on our S3 data using Amazon Athena. So that's what we're going to be doing in this project. Two other things that I want to mention: for the code that exists as part of the stream processor, I'm going to put that in the description section below. And also I have a whole bunch of other videos on all these different things: DynamoDB streams, Kinesis Firehose, Amazon Athena, all separately. And I'll put those in the description section of this video in case you want to get more familiar with them. So let's head over into the console now and get started making this thing. All right, everyone. So here we are in the AWS console. So the first thing that I want to do is go and create a DynamoDB table. So let's head over to the DynamoDB section to do that. So going to the top search bar here and just typing in DynamoDB and clicking on the first result. And this is using the new UI experience, by the way. So things may look a little bit different for those of you that are familiar with Dynamo. In order to activate it, I just selected, there was like a ribbon bar thing up here that asked if you want to use the new experience. I clicked yes, so that's what we're going to be using for this video. So in order to create a table, we're just going to click on this orange button here, create table. And it's asking us for some details here. We want our table name. I think I said we're going to name this orders. And for our partition key, we want that to be order ID, and that's camel case, so with a capital I. Okay, for everything else, we want to leave default settings, no sort key, by the way. Default read-write capacity, all of that is fine. And go ahead and click on create table. Sometimes this does take a couple minutes in order for this to change from creating to active, but it doesn't really matter for us since we can go and create our other infrastructure while this is doing its thing. So let's head over to Lambda now and go and create our Lambda function that's going to be processing the stream of change events that exist for this table. And while I was talking, we saw that this automatically changed to active when it's done. It's good to know everything was set up there. So I'm going to head over to Lambda now because we need to go and create our function. You can see I already have one here. This is just one that was on my account from previously. But in order to create a new one, we want to go to the top right and go ahead and click on create function now. And author from scratch, that's good. We want to call this, I believe I said stream processor. So stream processor. We're going to use Python, Python, where are you? 3.7 is, I believe, the most recent. And for execution role, so this is something that we will want to specify because we're going to need a particular role that has permissions to write to Firehose. So unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be one that's going to be as part of these policy templates that has that. You can see you can select this little thing here and it gives you some options. Let's see if they have Firehose. No, they don't. So what we need to do, unfortunately, is put this on pause really quick and go ahead and create our IAM role that's going to have all the necessary permissions for this Lambda function. So I'm just going to go to the top and duplicate this tab really quick. Let's head over to IAM now. Click on this guy. And in IAM, we want to go to the role section and we want to click on create role here. So create role. And then for us, we want to, if there's an option here for Firehose, yeah, there's no option here for Firehose, unfortunately. And then from here, we want to click on, you can see there's some common use cases. We're going to be using Lambda here. So you want to click next for permissions. And then it's going to give you some suggestions for policies. So for us, we want Firehose. I believe it's, well, we're going to probably use full access here, but the one that we only really need is, let's see if they have it here. No, they just have the asterisk for wildcard, but it's called put record. So if you want to create a policy with just one particular permission, that's the one you want. It's Firehose put record. So tick that box there. We also need to make sure this has the Lambda basic execution role, or else you're not going to be able to select it from your Lambda function when you're in that create function wizard thing over on Lambda. So make sure it also has this one. And then you should be good to go from here. So I'm going to click on next in the bottom right, click on next again for review. I'm going to call this orders stream processor Lambda role. And this is just giving us a summary of the policies that are currently attached to it. This looks correct, which is good. Go ahead and click on create role in the bottom right. And now our role is successfully created. Let's just verify that by searching for it. So order, stream, processor, Lambda, role, everything looks good here. Okay, so we can close out this tab now. And now we are back in our Lambda function. And let's see if this works now. We may have to refresh the page. So I'm going to click on use an existing role. And it should come up here. Orders, there it is, actually it came up, cool. So that's the role that we just created, and that's going to give us the permissions that we need. For advanced settings, you don't need to specify any of this. We're not going to use VPC or code signing, so just leave all that as default. Go ahead and go to the bottom and click on create function now. Sometimes this does take a minute for everything to succeed. We can see here this is actually pretty quick, so that's good. All right, so now let's scroll down a little bit because we want to test out our function here. Actually, we want to code up our function. So I'm going to double click on the code section here where it says lambda_function.py. Then I've prepared some code for you, which I'm just going to drop in here and explain to you really quick exactly what's happening. So this is our Python code that it's going to be responsible for taking these update events from the DynamoDB stream, which we're going to connect to our table, and then they're going to kind of parse them out and then put them to our Firehose stream, which is eventually going to put it to S3. So let me walk you through what's going on here line by line. So we're importing some libraries, JSON for parsing, Boto3 for our SDK libraries. We're creating an instance of the Firehose client using boto3.client and Firehose. And I'm using a result string here because what we need to put to Firehose, if you imagine, like we're going to have a bunch of records that come in as part of the event object here. You can see I'm parsing over each one for record and event records. And what we need to do is output them in a very particular format. Let me show you what it looks like. So let me just put some comments here really quick. And it needs to be in this format just because Firehose and S3 and Athena are all pretty wonky. So what you need to do is have it, like if you have multiple records per event, you need to create a string that essentially looks like this. And it's got like your key here and your value. And then on the next line, it needs to be a new record, right? And then that'll be your key and your value. Now keep in mind, like these two records can be defined within this initial event here. So you need to like kind of add them to a list and then output them to a string that looks like this. And this is going to make sense in a moment here when I kind of run through an example here. So we're creating that result string. We're iterating over all the records. We are parsing the raw records. And this is just extracting some fields. I have a function here that shows you. So I'm creating a result dictionary. I'm saying the order ID key is equal to whatever the value is in this key space, which is essentially just the value of the order ID. Same thing for state. It's just extracting the state from the input event. And then same thing for last updated date. So it's essentially just extracting all of these different properties from the events that are being passed in and creating them into a dictionary with key value mappings. and we just print out that result string. Actually, I skipped a line. So we are appending to this result string, and I am just formatting this as a JSON string, and I'm adding a new line after each one. Then I'm printing it out. And then once we iterate over all of them and parse our string into one kind of amassed JSON string, we are putting that using the Firehose client's put record API. And then you just need to specify your delivery stream name and then this particular format. So the second key is record, needs to be a JSON object where the key is data and the value is the string that you just created. Okay, so that was a mouthful. Let's just change this actually to, I think I said orders audit Firehose or something like that. I may have to come back here and change this, but that looks good for now. So I also have a test event, which I'll include in the code that I'm included for this project in the description section. So in order to test this out and like kind of see what it's doing, we can configure a test event really quick. So click on that little, actually deploy it first or else this isn't going to work. Click on the down arrow there, configure test event. You can use a template if you want, or you can name your own. So foobar looks good to me. And I'm just going to paste this in here. So this is what our event input is going to look like. There's a records key, and then inside each one, we have a bunch of different properties. And then you can see inside the DynamoDB key, there's keys, and then this is the name of the attribute. In our case, it'll look like this. It'll have order ID. This will be a string and whatever your order ID is. And then in the new image key, that's going to be where the other attributes are. So for us, there'll be things like state, and this will look like last updated time, right? Last updated time, of course. Remember to use camel case here. So I'm not going to actually invoke this because this contains all this other garbage, which is not going to work with this function. But I will put a sample event that works with this Lambda function in the description section so that you can try it out. I just happen to know that this already works correctly. Okay, so that is looking good for our Lambda function. We don't need to actually do anything else. This thing is pretty much good to go. So now what we need to do is go back to DynamoDB, and we need to attach this Lambda function to our DynamoDB streams. So let's go do that now. So Dynamo, we're going to go to that, and we're going to go find our table, and we're going to go to orders, and then we are going to go to exports and streams over here. And then DynamoDB stream details. First of all, you want to enable it. And what you want to select here is, well, there's a bunch of different options. Let me explain to you what these mean. So the first one is if you want that update event to contain just the key, so in our case, it would just be the order ID, then you use this option. If you want to contain just the new image, so whatever the new record is that is currently being replaced, that's what you'll specify here, this option, and you'll only get those new images. This is actually going to be the one that we want. If you only want the old images, so the thing that was replaced, then you select this one. And if you want both, then you can select new and old images. So for every record that changed, it'll give you a snapshot of what was there before and what's there now. So this is useful if you want to do like diffs between two different records, you would select this one. But for us, we only really care about new images because that's what we want in our audit log. So I'm going to select on new image here. Go ahead and click on enable stream. And we want to go to the bottom here, scroll all the way down, and now we want to add a trigger. A trigger, you can have more than one triggers if you want. They could be like Lambda functions or other things. So let's click on create trigger here and I'll show you. So we have Lambda function that's coming up as defaults. We want to select the Lambda function that we specified, which is stream processor. And then you can select a batch size. So the way this works is that for every Lambda function invocation, you can get between 1 and 10,000 events that changed within that invocation that'll be passed into the arguments. So for us, we don't really want that much. And like depending on the throughput on your table, that may dictate the size of the number that you put in here. But I think something like reasonable to start off with is probably something like 50, maybe even 25, maybe even as high as 100. But for us, like we're not going to get anything near that. So let's just leave this as 50. We're going to go ahead and click on create trigger now. And okay, so what do we get here? Please ensure that the role can perform the get records, get shard editor, describe stream, list shards. All right, so I got an error here, and that's because the Lambda role that's on that function doesn't have the permissions to read off of this stream. So I need to go and modify that really quick. Let's just go back to IAM. So this kind of gives you an idea of what goes wrong, or what can go wrong rather. So go to roles. Let's find that one that we just created. So orders. That's this one, and we want to probably attach a new policy. Now the question is, which policy am I going to need here? I hope there's one that's like DynamoDB streams. That's probably the one that I'm going to want. You see here, I created an additional one here. I must have run into this previously. Yeah, so, okay, so what does this have? Yeah, so there's these additional properties that you need for your DynamoDB stream, or these additional permissions. So you need DynamoDB get records, get shard iterator, describe stream, list streams. I'm just gonna use this policy since I created it previously. But if you want to create a new one, these are the permissions that you need. Get records, get shard iterator, describe stream, and list streams. And everything comes with invoke function, so that's fine. All right, so we're gonna add that and click on attach policy now and confirm here. Yeah, so it's got all the policies that we need. So let's go back and try to do this again and see if this works. We see now that it did indeed work, so that was the problem. And from here, we are pretty much good to go. Now, I do want to point out, when you go to the stream section here on your table, scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see that this is your trigger. Now, the way that these triggers work, and I want to point this out because this has bitten me a few times in the past, it processes your records as if they are flowing through a pipe. So if you end up throwing in an exception while you're processing one of the records in the stream, the ones behind it will never get processed. And you need to correct that error before new records start getting processed. So what that means for you as a user is never in your Lambda function implementation throw an exception back, because what that's going to cause is it's going to cause your stream to get backed up and never processed. Instead, if you fail for any reason, put that to a DLQ or just log that out so that you can fix it later and then just, carry on forward in your Lambda function. That's something that screwed me in the past, and I just wanted to let you know that's a possibility of happening. So make sure you're not letting an exception bubble up. Make sure that you're catching it and resuming gracefully. All right, so that's pretty much it for the DynamoDB stream section. I'm going to leave this open because we're probably going to need it later. So let's go ahead and create our Firehose data stream now. And I'm just gonna, I'll use that tab. So I'm gonna go to Firehose. That's under Kinesis. So you go to Kinesis. And if this is your first time in Kinesis, this is what you see. So what we wanna do is use Kinesis Data Firehose. Click on this guy. We're gonna click on Create Delivery Stream now. And for our delivery stream name, I believe I said Orders Audit Firehose. And below, this gives you some indication of how this data flow works. You have your source that puts it to your Firehose delivery stream, and then finally it outputs to your destination. So for us, we're going to be direct putting or other data sources since we're using the Boto 3 SDK. We don't need server-side encryption. We don't need any of this stuff, actually. I shouldn't have even expanded that. Let's click on Next down here. If you want to transform source records before they hit your Firehose stream, you can do that. Like you can have another Lambda that takes whatever our previous Lambda is trying to put and then transforms it right before it puts to Firehose. That's overkill for us. We don't really need that at all. And then convert record formats. So if you want to store this as like Apache Parquet or ORC files, I believe you can do that here. But we're just going to leave this as its normal JSON. Click on Next now, and our destination is going to be Amazon S3, so we're going to leave that as default. You can see here it also has some other destination options, which are also useful. If you wanted this data to persist in a database that was always on, Amazon Redshift is a great option there, more for data engineering and business intelligence and stuff like that. But for us, it's complete overkill, so we're going to stick with Amazon S3. All right, so scroll down and S3 destination now. So it's asking us to choose a bucket. I have 1 million buckets on my account. Let's create a new one. And we want to call this orders, audit, data, and then let's just put my channel name. These need to be globally unique, which is why I'm putting this extra stuff in here. We're going to create our bucket now, so that's good to go. S3 prefix. So this is the part where it specifies the date format of the bucket folder structure when it puts data to S3. And this is why I like using Firehose. It's for this feature right here. If you were putting it directly to S3, you'd have to kind of internally compute this and figure it out and create the subfolder structure as well. In addition to creating the files, it's a huge pain. This just makes it a lot easier. So by default, it does it in this format, which is year, month, day, hour, which is good. So we are not going to touch this at all. All right, so from here now, we just want to go ahead and click on Next in the bottom right. And this is where we specify some of the conditions for our buffer. So we want, you don't need 5 megabytes worth of data. This is kind of the chunk that it'll output to S3. If the rate of delivery increases, it'll put lots of these size chunks in your S3 bucket all at once. So you can choose your size here. I'm just going to set this to 1. And then for buffer interval, this is the amount of time it'll wait until it reaches this size. So for example, if I put 60 here, so what will happen is a new file will be outputted to S3 if 60 seconds elapse or 1 megabyte of data is put to Firehose, it'll automatically put it in 1 megabyte chunks. So that's how this works, either 60 seconds or 1 megabyte worth of data, whichever comes first. All right, now from there, we just scroll down a little bit. You can enable S3 compression if you want, which is great if you want this to be a cold store. By the way, this will work if you select gzip here. Somehow Athena knows to open gzip files and knows how to decompress them and all that. But I'm just going to leave this as disabled for now since it's not useful for us. So scrolling down a little bit more, error logging, that's always good to have on, so you can keep that. For permissions, it's going to automatically create a role that has the right permissions for us. So just leave this as default here. Go ahead and go to the bottom and click on next. This should be the final screen asking us for confirmation. Everything's looking good here. Everything's looking good. Go ahead and click on create delivery stream in the bottom right. All right, so this is almost done, I believe. Sometimes this does take a couple minutes here. And now our Firehose is just creating now, so we are almost in the clear. So from this point, what I want to do is just verify that everything is working correctly up until now. I want to see if the data that I insert into DynamoDB is being outputted into S3, since that's what our architecture is supposed to do. Let me just drag my architecture diagram back into the screen here. So we're going to modify some data that exists in the orders table. It should trigger this Lambda function, which should put records into Firehose, which should put data into Amazon S3. And then after we verify this, we'll go ahead and create the Athena table and the Athena database and proceed with that step. But this is kind of a sanity step that we need to do prior to make sure that everything is set up correctly. So I have another tab that's still open for DynamoDB, so that is good. Go back to the table section for orders, click on that. And then now we need to put a couple records into our orders table. So where is it now? They've changed the format. So, okay, click on items here on the side pane, then click on our orders table. Wow, this looks completely different than what it used to be. Right, so create item. So for our order ID, what do we want it to be? You know what? I'm going to do this as JSON since our code does expect some certain types here. For example, this means string, but I need some other ones to be like N for number. So for order ID, let's just say this is order ID number 5. String is fine here for us. I'm just going to copy this really quick so I don't have to do this each time. Okay. And then for the second one, we're going to say state, and that is going to start as open. And then last updated date, and that is going to be a number. And let's go get a number really quick. And I'm going to go to the website. There should be like Epoch Converter website that I always use here. Yeah, there it is, which is just going to give us an Epoch timestamp, copying that to clipboard, go back to the other tab, put that in here. And we should be good to go here. There's a little error here. Number should start with quotes. Got it. All right, so apparently you need to put that in the number field as well. Okay, so that's looking good so far. So let's go ahead and create that item and verify that it is now there. We're going to click on, go to scan, click on run. Okay, so now that we see it's there, let's modify this thing again. I want to change this to, what did I say, like picked up or something? Right, that's the second state that we want this thing to be in. And then run again. We can see now it's picked up. And let's set it as complete now or delivered or whatever. It doesn't really matter. So let's just say completed. So these are the different stateful transitions that this record is going through. And like I mentioned in my previous video, if you're coming like to do a post-mortem here and you're looking at this record, all you see is that it's completed. You don't see any of those other state transitions, which can be a problem. Of course, I didn't update the last updated date, which is kind of a miss on my part, but you get the idea of what's going on here. Okay, so let's go to S3 now and figure out, like, did this whole thing work? Is everything being delivered successfully to our S3 bucket? Before we do that, actually, we can go back to our table and see if our stream is behaving correctly by going to exports and streams, and we should have an indication here. Okay, so the stream is last processing result is okay. If this was an error, like if our Lambda function errored out, you would see like function call failed here, and it looks like everything is good. So let's go to our other tab here. I'm just going to open S3 at the top real quick, and let's check our table or our S3 bucket to see if it contains that order information. So order audit data. And here's the table format that I was talking about. So it's separated by year, and then month, and then day, and then hour. So you can see here it's very, very handy. That auto cataloging feature is great from a cold store perspective. Okay, so here's the file that it outputted. So if we click on that and we just click on open really quick, we should be able to see what's in here. And of course, this is opening on my other screen. Give me a second here. And here is the file that it just opened up for me. So we can see here, we have order ID 5, we have open here, we have picked up, and we have completed. So all three different states that it went through, which is perfect. Also note that we're not separating this by commas or anything. It's just by new lines. That's important for Athena, or else it's not going to be able to parse the information correctly. So that's what's in S3 now. You can go ahead and add a little bit more data if you want. Everything should flow pretty well. But for our case, we're pretty much done verifying that this part of the architecture is working correctly. Now all we need to do is go and muck with Athena to set everything up there. So let's go to, we're going to use Glue, Amazon Glue, to create a table that's going to be used for Amazon Athena. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to Glue, AWS Glue. And what we want to do is we want to add a table that's based on our data in S3. So it's going to ask us to eventually select a bucket here. So what we're going to need to do that is go to add tables here, and we're going to add tables using a crawler. So add tables using a crawler, and we're going to say this is our orders audit table crawler. Now there's another way to do this. If you want to create your table manually, you can, and you define your schema and everything that way, but this is automatic and it works really well. So I'm just going to use this thing. Very, very cheap as well, so don't worry about cost for this. Go ahead and click on next. Crawler source type, it's a data store. It's not part of any existing catalog because we haven't added this thing to a catalog anywhere. Crawl all folders, that's fine for our initial state there. Click on next. Now it's asking us for our type of data store. So we used S3, a whole bunch of them are supported here. And what we want to do is it's asking us now to crawl data in a specified path in my account. We're not using another account here. So click on this little black thing here for the folder symbol, and it's going to bring up a little thing that we can select from. And this is the bucket, orders, audit, data, be a better dev bucket. That's the one that contains all of our data. You can see it gives you a breakdown. And if you only want to create your table based on some kind of sub bucket here, or maybe you only care about a particular year, you can select that and it'll only work for that particular year. So go ahead and click on select now, click on next. Add another data store, no. So click on next again. It's going to create a new IAM role. Just type in whatever you want here. So audit table role, and go ahead and click on next. And for frequency, run on demand, since I'm only going to do this once. If you ever update your schema, like you add additional fields or something, you need to rerun your crawlers. And you can set this to be on a timer if you want, but for me, I'm going to do this once. So I'm going to leave it on run as demand. Click on next now. And now you select which database you want to add it to. I'm just going to leave it as the sample one for now, since I don't have any other reason to create a new database. And from there, I believe we're pretty much done. Click on next here. It should give us a summary. Go ahead and click on finish. And now we see that our crawler is here and it is ready. What you want to do is go and click on this little box here and click on Run Crawler now. And what this is going to do is it's going to go and look through all the files that exist in that S3 location and parse all the JSON files to figure out what this common schema is between all of them. And then from there, what we're going to see after this crawler is done running, You can see here it's doing something. We're going to see an entry in the tables section over here. Right now it just says ELB logs, but we should see a table that contains something with reference to our S3 bucket. So let's let this thing run. I'm going to wait until this is finished running, and then we're going to check on the table section to make sure everything is there. All right, guys, you can see this thing is pretty much done. It's in currently stopping status. And if you note all the way on the right here, you can see tables added and it is set to 1. So that's a good sign for us. That just gives us confirmation that everything worked correctly. So you can go ahead and go to tables now. And if we click on refresh here, you see now that we have a table name that maps to our S3 bucket. And if you click on this, you should see the details of the schema. So we have order ID, state, and last updated date that automatically got picked up. So it knows that these are the column names that are present in our data set. So pretty neat that it's able to do that. You can, of course, do this manually, but it's a bit of a pain. So that's it for Glue. What we can do now is go ahead and go into Athena and start querying on our table. So I'm going to go to Athena really quick and click on that. And if this is your first time here, the first thing that you need to do is go up to settings, and you need to set up a query result location. And the reason this is important is because the way Athena works is for every query that you submit, it outputs those results to an S3 path so that you can do something with it later if you want. So you need to configure this, or else when you try to run a query, it's going to give you an error saying no output path specified. So you can set this to whatever you want, or you can create a new bucket. I'm just going to select some random bucket I have that is unrelated. So yeah, this is something random that I can use. So yeah, we're going to put that there. But in your case, maybe you want to create one that's actually meaningful. For me, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and click on save now. All right, so let's, I don't know what this is. Now we can see here over on the left-hand side under our database, which was SampleDB, we can see here now we have our orders audit table. And if you click on these little dots here, you can click on them and click on preview table. This should generate a template for a SQL query, which is basically just like a select star. And it's just giving us the top 10 here. You can go ahead and click on run query. And there you go. So you can see now that our information for this particular order is all here. We can see all the different change events, open, picked up, completed. You can do all your normal SQL here. So you can do things like select star from blah, 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 where order ID is equal to 2, we'll say. This should return no results. Of course, I have a query error. That's probably because this needs single quotes. Click on that again. Go ahead and click on run query. And you can see 0 results returned. If you put 5 in here, this should return 3. All right, that's good. Let's just go screw with Dynamo really quick and just mess with some records again and make sure everything is working end to end. Go to orders again. I'm going to just change something here. Let's go and modify this actually. Let's say canceled. And click on save now. So now, when you clicked that, everything is flowing between all the systems. The stream is connected to the Lambda function. The Lambda function is taking that change event. It's putting that to Firehose. Firehose is going to wait up to a minute now until all the data is present. And then it's going to put to S3. And then automatically our Athena is going to be able to query that new data that exists in S3 without us having to do anything. So I'm just going to fast forward this really quick. So let's head over to Athena now and see if we have a new record in our data store, which I'm not sure if we will. It takes up to 60 seconds, but let's see. Click on that. Yeah, so I'm just going to fast forward this really quick. All right, so let's try this again. It's been about a minute. Click on run query. And we now see that we have that additional record that exists in Athena. So that's it for this video. I have a whole bunch of in-depth videos on a bunch of different topics discussed here, including Dynamo, Athena, Firehose, DynamoDB, a whole bunch of things. Check them out in the description section of this video. And also, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.